Fun. Welcome to another episode of A Podcast with your host, Stephen Maxted. And we have an awesome guest today, Kim Moffatt, the little garden next door. Glad I nailed that. We have similar backgrounds today, although mine's just a prop, but yours, you were growing food for your local community. And this is a segue of a couple indoor ag companies that we have had on. There's a little bit of overlap because you actually use one of the products. Maybe we'll chat a little bit about it today, but I'm really excited to hear about this, Kim. You're in a community I'll let you introduce yourself, but I could probably talk about you for a bit here. We'll call it rural Manitoba. You're based out of Minedosa, Manitoba, a community that's kind of like near and dear to a lot of agricultural connections for me and my university days. And a lot of friends and their families still live in the community as we were talking. It's like a big small town in the whole province. Um, yeah, and you're supplying them with lettuce and other greens, and this is just the coolest thing. So I will leave that intro now and pass it over to you, Kim. Tell the listener a little bit about yourself and your journey here.
So, as you said, my name is Kim Moffatt, and we're the little garden next door growing in Minedosa, Manitoba. We are using Harvest Today walls to grow piles and piles of food. We just got started growing in March of this past year. So thanks to Ag Days, that lots of us out here have. So I guess to start off with, we have lived here in this house for 22 years. We always had the intention of buying the place next door and turning it into my garden food forest. Over COVID, I took some permaculture courses and was really concerned. We have two daughters. I was really concerned with the food security of the area. I looked around and I couldn't figure out why the shelves were empty, why we were having shipping issues with food. We live in the agricultural hub of basically the world. Why can't we have fresh food? It blew my mind.
Yeah.
So my whole thing was, okay, how am I going to solve this? So grow outdoors. Well, my husband's a conventional farmer. We're already doing that. But how was I going to feed my family? So started that kind of journey thinking, we'll purchase the place next door. I'll turn it into my food forest, and then I'll be able to secure some food. Jump ahead to Ag Days this past year. Perry was leaving the Keystone Center and came across the Harvest Today booth. And Rick goes, want to know how you can do this too? And before he left his booth, he had texted me and said, I think I found your new thing. So literally weeks later, we were in William's office in Winnipeg, and I wrote a check for my first mega wall, 720 quart mega wall. Before May long, we actually brought it home and set it up in the spare bedroom in a 10 by 12 bedroom. And I snuck past and we grew things and got our first set of lettuce off to the Main Street Cafe just on Main Street. They take most of our lettuce for they're a locally sourced restaurant just on Main Street.
Was that the place that we went to?
Yes. Yeah. No, we went to Farmhouse 50, who is also down the street.
Well, that's a great segue to be like, hey, like there's multiple places. I left them an awesome Google review. That was a really good place we went to because we had your fresh lettuce in there. You could tell the difference. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there. But I was like, if that's the place, but
we were very lucky with the couple of restaurants, ladies that we've worked with in the past. I also own a screen printing and embroidery business, so I was working at home anyways. I just decided over COVID it was time to get out of the basement, and it's time for me to live a little in the sunshine. So
we're gonna put in lights,
bring some light into my life. So we were very lucky. We've got some restaurants on board right from the start, and we started growing in the spare bedroom. By May long weekend, we realized one wall wasn't going to be enough. And I ordered a second mega wall and a smaller herb wall. I'm only 5'3". I can't reach the top row, so I carry a stool with me. So we got the herb wall just one layer shorter so that I can reach everything and I don't have to carry a stool with me in the other room. And it also fits through doorways. So if I have to go to a trade show or I want to show my wall off somewhere, then it's way easier. We can scoot it out and we don't need to take it all apart. But yeah, so we, much to my 14-year-old's dismay, pulled the entire living room contents out and we put the walls in the living room. So we are currently in my living room,
You would not
awaiting.
know though. It looks like
It looks like a greenhouse. Eh? It looks
it
pretty
looks like a
good.
greenhouse, and when you're in it, it's immaculate. You have your main priority in that room is truly growing.
Yeah.
The food. So it's you have the lights hanging on the wall, and you have just to maybe explain like the rows too. I mean, we can see part of it. We had we were having a conversation before, and they're substantial. You're sitting on the floor there basically, but this is one of the coolest things. We had to play with the lights, listener here, if you're watching this. But yeah, this looks so tall from this angle.
Yeah, I am on the floor. It does look
but
really
that
tall.
is the reality. Is like you have a giant wall of fresh lettuce, and it's something that the listener won't appreciate. It's such a neat experience that I had to be out there. But between these walls, the first few minutes in there, and each one of those walls has a double side. So those are that exact same thing, relatively speaking, is happening on the other side of those walls too. So you have like 4 giant walls of food right in your house, and you're supplying the local community with that. But the neat thing about these walls is just like I said, listener won't be able to pick this up over camera, but the smell, I just couldn't get over it. And when I started saying it, you almost started like laughing at me when I was there, because I was just like, this is so fresh. This is crazy. We'll get into all the things that you grow in a second here, but the one thing I smelled is it basil? Do you have basil?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, you do have
basil.
That was one for me. I really like basil, so it's like I'm more attracted to that scent. Yeah. It's so lucky just to get to go like rub your fingers in it and smell it every day, basically, if you wanted to. But we get to taste the stuff right off the wall there too. It's so fresh, and there is a huge difference. I mean, we always wonder if anyone listening, and even for us, when you go traveling places and you wonder like, oh, the food tastes so good here. It's not only because it's probably hot and nice if you're in that destination to get away, but it's because it's a lot fresher. It hasn't sat in a truck for days. If we're lucky, it's probably within a day, but it's a lot of the lettuce that we do get comes and doesn't have a lot of flavor in it, and that would be a huge difference on top of the food security topic that we'll get into. But the freshness of it, it's not aged. We don't often think that because it looks green, it looks good, and it is still a good product that's out there. I think it's a healthier option than a bag of chips. No knocking of the chips in case we have someone on one day. There's a time and place for everything. There's a fit for everything.
System. Absolutely.
Yeah. But it's just how great that is, and like how many things are in here, and I'm really jacked up about, I guess, like the smell that we had that day in there, because it was so cool. So
yeah, if the first taste doesn't get you, the smell will. It's unbelievable what fresh ingredients actually taste like. I didn't actually know what parsley tasted like. I thought it was just green on a plate until we grew it and I tried it, and I'm like, holy bro, like this actually tastes like something. Same with cilantro. I wasn't a big fan. I just thought it tastes like soap, and I was pretty sure it tasted like soap until you got fresh stuff that comes right at you. And the 14-year-old is big on you just need one, mom. You just need one. So you definitely don't need as much. We have the size of our salads has decreased by half. You no longer need a dinner plate. It's a salad plate, like an actual salad plate for salad, because it's so full of nutrients and it's so dense and so fresh that you don't need a lot anymore. So so right now we are cycling 7 different kinds of lettuce. So I think I've almost got it figured out where I don't have to plant 720 plants at a time. I can now chunk it up into 50 plants at a time to cycle things a little bit better. Most of our herbs have been on the wall since we originally started in March. So it's just cut and come kind of thing. Same with our cilantro and parsley. It's still original. I have started some new stuff, but the new stuff's already caught up to the old stuff. And now I've got a lot. And dill out here. I'm in Ukrainian country, so dill is a big thing. And that's
incredible.
It was not an easy thing to grow this year. So my dill sales have pretty much tripled in the last 2 weeks, just because everybody's finishing up pickles and there's no more dill in the garden left because it froze out here. So it's and the more people that find out where we are, the more people are. We're only 2 blocks away from Main Street, Minedosa, so it's a pretty easy stop on the way past from the grocery store. So I'm kind of
Yeah.
banking on that too. The intention is not to always be in our living room. We did purchase the little house next door, hence the name, the little garden next door.
Yep.
And we're in the midst of renovating. So Perry has spent the last year and a half stripping all the old wood. It's a 100-year-old farmhouse. So we've stripped all the wood on the inside and we're using it to heat the house this winter. And then it'll be renovated. We'll take off the front half into about 450 square foot new greenhouse. It'll be fully sealed and set up. We're putting solar on the roof to help offset the lighting. We'll also be inputting a biodigester that will be part of the Heritage Co-op food loop. So we'll be able to take all their bio scraps and turn it into compost, and then an off gas of CO2 that goes back into the greenhouse to increase growth. So yeah, so most of the stuff that's over there, we've been really intentional with how we spend our money. I am the cheapest person in the world. I do not like to spend money. So we are reusing and repurposing. And my work table is actually made out of 2 arena doors and 4 fence posts. And it goes over top of the entrance into the basement.
Oh, yes.
Eventually used.
I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah.
I did see that. We got to go through that building when we were there. Yes. Very cool.
Yeah.
I did not know that's what it was. I just thought it was a really heavy duty table.
Yeah, it was a really well-made table. Well, that's what farming ingenuity will do for you, right? So
yeah,
I've been really lucky. Perry is an excellent mind when it comes to fixing. He says he's just the heavy lifting, but he is definitely the thinker and the doer. And I can grow stuff and I can sell stuff and I can do all that part and everything, but he is definitely the one that's building my lighting racks and setting things up and moving things for me. And I couldn't do this without him for sure.
Well, it takes a couple people to make things.
Yeah. The intention isn't to be so big in the end either that we're not able to do it ourselves. I don't think not that we don't want to feed everybody. We definitely do. The Baba in me comes out and I just want to feed everybody. But I also know after growing 1,480 plants in my living room that 1,480 plants feeds a lot of people. And by the time we get 5,000 plants going, that's a lot to manage. And it's a lot of things that need to be done, not just necessarily, pick and throw it in a bag. So, so that part,
Well, and I pulled up on the other screen here doing my own research, so we get like a third person. This podcast gets big enough, but so not to be rude, but I just pulled up like a little census thing about Minedosa just for reference here, and it says in 2016 the population was basically 2,500. It was 2,449 is what it says. I'm sure it's grown. That's 7 years ago already, so I'm sure it has gone up. But how close or how far away would you really be? I don't know how to word that right, but from almost being able to feed everyone in the community. Obviously, it's not everyone's diet, so maybe we're not going to feed everyone. But like, is that like a real thing that you could do? It's
definitely a realistic goal. I don't know if Minedosa would be able to support 2 farms like us, our size.
Right.
We will definitely be able to service the Minedosa area. It's our intention to keep food local. So we are also distributors for the Harvest Today walls. And my intention is to help make sure that everybody has a chance to eat fresh, local, delicious food so that we can all be a little bit healthier.
For sure.
I had 2 teenage athletes that needed to eat properly and needed to do that. And I know how expensive it can be. And I don't think it needs to be. So we also, know what food security up north looks like. So my husband's from Lynn Lake and we spend our summers up there. We spend 2 weeks a year up there. Hopefully it'll be 3 this year. And so we spent a lot of time this summer going to the grocery store, talking with the city council and the mayor and with the Black Sturgeon Reserve that is just up there. Lynn Lake is in the middle of opening the gold mine up again. So they will be introducing a 400-person camp to build the gold mine and get it operational. They also have the Black Sturgeon reserve that is expanding its population. Oh, Billy's here too.
Little guy. Yeah.
She wants to be part of it too. So we spent some time. We spent some time at the grocery store, and like I told you before, they get 6 heads of lettuce a week, maybe, if it makes it there. By
Right.
the time it
so
gets
limited.
there, it's not what you're willing to eat, but they eat it because that's what it is, and it's $13
Yeah.
a head of lettuce. So like
Great.
we complain about $7 here. Well, try paying double that, and it's already on its way out before it even gets to the store. So
no, it's a real serious issue with
absolutely.
that side of things, right? So
yeah.
Yeah.
So during the summer, we definitely seen that we were just servicing our restaurants. People have gardens out here. Awesome. Great. Do it. Grow all you can. So I think next year we will be approaching Camp Wanna Comeback to see if they're interested in potentially adding a wall to their kitchen. They could use it as part of their activities.
Sure.
They can also feed some kids some lettuce and vegetables and maybe add some of that stuff back to their diet for the week.
Absolutely. No, I think I'm a big fan of the system. Obviously came out there and saw the setup, and I was just infatuated with the flavor, the smell, and the look, and just the overall concept of something is so fascinating to me. And I don't know why. I mean, anyways, everything takes time, and there's often bureaucracy within getting some of the stuff done too. But the you said there's how many 13 varieties of lettuce that you grow on the wall? I don't want to like ask you as like a test, but I mean, for the most part, I know there to be a few. From my end of things, I know that there's you have iceberg. I don't want to sound silly saying this out loud, but that's okay. I can always learn some. We have what did I say, iceberg?
Yep.
And then is it like lettuce hearts, right? We have like those that are usually in bags, and then like spinach. And then when I'm often at the grocery store, in terms of like, where I'm normally getting a lot of my stuff from. Otherwise it is, market gardens, but I believe them to be similar varieties. Is like a mixed green thing that I don't really even know what's in there. And that's probably a case where you do have a mix of multiple varieties that it's just not as common to be in front of you.
Absolutely.
So what are
so
the 13 varieties?
Right now we have a mix of romaine and butter crunch, which is everybody's go-to, which is awesome. They're the perfectly sized little leaf for a burger or sandwich for everything, and that's kind of Perry's go-to too. He now just grabs 3 leaves on his way out the door to pop in a sandwich on the way by. But we started our CSA salad boxes last week, and I had to call them salad boxes because I don't want to just give people one type of lettuce. That's not really all that good. My go-to is to grab a little bit of everything. So we've got romaine, butter crunch. We do have some baby leafy greens, which would be what you see in those big containers in Superstore. We also have some chicory endive that grows.
Chicory endive. All right, that's
So it grows like. I was hoping something would be close and I wouldn't have to.
That's okay. Sorry. That's okay. We can just talk about it. We'll do a follow-up for sure.
But it just grows like this big head, and you just trim it off like a little haircut, and it's similar to the leafy stuff. We also arugula grows wonderful.
Oh right, I forgot that was out there. We had samples of that. That was awesome.
So super peppery, super like really fragrant and flavorful, and I actually like it more on eggs than in salad. And then we've got 2 different kinds of kale on the wall right now. There's also we have leafy red and green, and there's a Chinese cabbage. So it's these great big purple leaves that are
purple ones. Yes,
lovely, and they look pretty like a plant, but they're really tasty. And I'm finding that people that come in and say, "Oh, I don't like kale. I said, no, you don't like grocery store kale, but you might like this. So it's definitely a softer, sweeter. It just adds a little bit of body to your salad. So I'm trying to get people popped into that too. We also grow collard greens. So it's not something that's common up here at all. But we we actually have a veterinarian prescription for a couple little lizards in town that need collard greens in their diet. So we custom grow collard greens for these lizards. And
Interesting. I'm
people,
just
they're quite tasty.
looking it up online here because I've heard it mentioned. I know I've had it in restaurants before. Okay,
Yeah.
so basically it looks like a lettuce.
Yeah. Looks like lettuce,
Oh, I
looks like
mean, it looks,
kale.
yeah.
Might actually look a little bit more like
Is
kale.
that it?
Yeah.
Right there? Oh, cool. Neat. I mean, on here, yeah, that looks close enough. It looks like actually, I could be wrong here. Oh,
This
yeah,
is
it is.
baby
Well, they
stuff.
have it.
So this is only about a month old. So
Okay, that makes
it's probably supposed
sense.
to get really big. But the baby stuff is doing its job
Oh
and it
no,
just
it looks,
keeps coming. So
yeah, leafy green vegetables like lettuce, Swiss chard, and spinach, like
oh
similar
yeah,
to
we
those.
got
Because
Swiss chard too. Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna
We
say,
have
yeah, because and that
rainbow
one has a
Swiss
little bit like
chard.
the red on it. I think there might be
Yeah.
some right behind you. I
You
could
can
be
see some
wrong.
right here. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah. So everything I can kind of show you here. So
Yeah,
everything gets planted in a 2-inch coco coir pot with
cool.
coco coir substrate that goes in the middle.
Awesome.
It's just about 3 tablespoons with each plant. So I start everything in trays and then pop it into the pot once it gets to this about the second leaf stage, and then it goes on the
Cool.
wall. So the wall is kind of the premium real estate where it grows its biggest and gets its most nutrients. And it doesn't take long. I started some seed, put it on the wall on the 21st, and that's the first harvest that I'm starting this week is all that stuff. So you're looking at about 3 weeks to a month before you can harvest everything.
Wow,
And
isn't
yeah,
that crazy?
it's
Because how long would it take outside of like let's say like your outdoor gardener? Would this be a similar timeline to that, or would this be
it's
faster or
definitely
slower
sped up.
maybe?
Definitely
Yeah.
sped up. And you don't get the bolting that happens. It definitely does. When we went up north, we had people that came in that were supposed to be harvesting. I guess I didn't leave good enough instruction. They didn't harvest nearly enough. So when we pulled in from up north, all of a sudden there's this jungle in the front room window, and it's just this giant wall of green, and it's grown over top of the walls. And
Right.
it took
So
me
if you
about
leave it,
3 weeks
you're
to get.
with the lights and such, you gotta
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So
really know
it
what's
took me
going
about
on.
3 weeks to pull everything off and get it all back to size. And the rabbit rescue was very thankful. They all got some brand new
A lot of
lettuce
food.
greens for the rabbit rescue and the goats there. So that was good. But yeah, it doesn't take long, 12 days, and things explode, especially if you're not constantly taking some off. So that was kind of the thinking behind us starting our CSA. So we've got 12 CSA that pick up once a week, Tuesdays and Fridays, because those are the days that I do harvest for the restaurants. So they either pick up or I deliver on my way to the restaurants and drop it off at their work or wherever. So that's been really handy. Some of them are very healthy. Others are that they had a garden and the garden's now done and that's just what they want. And then others are, okay, I'm sick and tired of paying that for what I'm getting and it lasts a day. So we've kind of got a mix of people so far. But the more we get out there and the more I didn't want to overpromise and underdeliver. So I haven't had to do a lot of advertising. We are also
Right.
in a very handy spot. We're kind of on the way out to the lake. So we're very handy in the fact that
People
we're
stop in.
pretty visible.
Yeah.
So that's good. But yeah, I didn't want to overpromise and underdeliver. So I'm just trying to keep it small. But as word gets out and everybody's really excited about what we're doing and what we're growing, it's getting
Yeah.
pretty hard to contain that excitement.
Totally.
On October 1st, we had a group of 4-H kids. So I'm a 4th generation 4-H'er. My kids are 5th generation.
Right on.
We have all been through the 4-H program. So I was very lucky to be asked to be part of the AgriQuest career tour. And so we had a bus show up with 20 brand new graduates from high school looking for ag careers. And they were so excited. It was so fun to talk to them, and they all came in and they were just blown away. So it was neat to see that side of it too, that people that are going into the agricultural business might possibly be looking at this as a way to, maybe help subsidize their grain farm. They've got the buildings, they've got the farming background. We had 4 of them that were quite excited about, okay, well, the one director said, can I just take one of these walls home? I'll put it on the bus. So we'll have him set up shortly right away here with a wall of his own. So, and then, yeah, so we did that. And then we did hold an open house in the summertime and had quite a few people come through during during Canada Day. And then Fun Fest, I put the wall in the back of the truck and was in the parade and sat down at the market. And so
cool.
they put me beside the food. So I got to see everybody, and everybody came for hot dogs. So everybody was kind of like picking off the wall and at his burger. And it was a really good way to market that. So thanks to the Fun Fest girls for putting me where they worked out really well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But yeah.
So neat. And like I said, it's so neat to like get that breakdown for call it a rural community in terms of like the population, what you can truly grow off their wall, how quick that turnaround really is.
Yeah.
I know I had like earlier mentioned on here, but like a genuine personal interest in doing this. I think it's just the coolest thing. I did normally have a garden in my backyard for a number of years, and it was just ended up when I was working in ag, I would be on farms or on hunter colonies where I'd often not need anything to be gardening because I'd be coming home with bundles of stuff. Yeah, so I actually got rid of my garden because of that. I was like, this is crazy. Why would I even start this when I go on the road for a day and do some farm calls and I'm coming home with 10x what I would do. Yeah. Yeah. And at the time I was a lot of the time I was single, so there was me eating zucchini for like a month at home. In many cases it's kind of funny. So I think this just makes so much sense, like you said too, with folks with the space and the ability to do it. They should definitely reach out to you and
absolutely
be such a cool advocate for sharing this journey. And even the way you explained how, you know, the pots. How about maybe dive in a little bit more? I know that what we can see on camera here, and kind of tee this up because I do know this answer, but we have the lights there, we have the wall there. You kind of explained the pots. What else is involved? Kind of poking on like the nutrition side, like. And watering, I guess, like how does that function within the wall and with the plants, I guess, specifically what's the steps there that need to be taken?
So Minedosa has a really aggressive water. So we haven't been able to actually use town water. So what we've been able to do is use snowmelt and rainwater runoff that we've collected. We also have an open spring source. A friend of ours has a well that has an open spring source that we'll be able to tap into this winter. The only thing that goes into the solution that feeds the plants is the base nutrients of what everything in the world needs to grow. So there's no chemicals, there's no fungicide, there's nothing. There's calcium, magnesium, and all those little tiny base nutrients that need to go in. It's a quick 3-step little process. I mix it up in a bucket, fill the walls up every 2 or 3 days, depending how big. Once you get new plants don't need as much. So that wall doesn't quite need as much help
because it doesn't
suck it up as much. So
Yeah.
But the good thing with these walls, and I think I showed you before, well, that's not a good one, but I'll show you this one. With hydroponic
growing, that you're able to just like pull it off. Sorry. This is the neatest thing. That was
kind of one of the things that really attracted me to it, because I did have one of those aeroponic grow hydroponic things.
Okay, I have one of those too.
Tangled up in there, and if something goes bad, your whole crop is done, right? You got to pull it out and start again, and it gets pretty murky. With this stuff, the root ball stays really compact and it stays tight, and because it doesn't need to go anywhere, it's getting fed twice a day. So the walls run on an app on my phone. You can increase the amount of time or how long or how much they get. So if you're finding that it's really dry, so you add another minute of watering somewhere along the way, or you add a third watering. So you can change all that. But the roots don't have to grow big. They literally stay right on the pot. They kind of overtake the pot and become this root ball. I'll see if I can pull off this basil and show you. So this is kind of.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So I had to put a cup around it because it's just become this root ball.
Right. Okay.
So there's no longer anything there but roots.
And it
just gets
soaking up nutrients and then pushing it up.
Just keeps growing, just keeps making basil.
Very interesting. Yeah. Wow, look how big that plant is. Hold on, can you pull that back out again? How tall would that be? It's hard to even get it in the whole camera here, but it's like, is that like a foot tall off the wall
Yeah,
there?
so it's about 12 inches tall, and I just harvested off this one on Tuesday.
So it would have
Tuesday,
been
so
bigger than
I
that.
took probably a good 3 or 4 inches off the whole thing. So yeah, so that's kind of my oldest plant. There's a little bit of dead stuff here, but yeah, so it just keeps growing new roots down the bottom. And we had some dry runs go through, and it dries out really quickly sometimes. If one of the holes in the top is plugged, then it dries out pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time you can just dunk it back in and it perks right back up in 12 hours. So this guy is,
Very
yeah,
neat.
he's 7 months old and he's doing lovely.
He's 7 months old. He's doing great. We have a 7-month-old basil plant.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow,
So
that
yeah.
is so incredible that you can get to that size on, like, I know I was there and I saw this stuff. I actually didn't realize how big some of those plants were because it kind of is blended in the wall there. I don't think I
Yeah.
actually truly
And you
understood how
don't
big that they were,
realize
and
that
I
it's,
literally saw it.
yeah, you don't
Right,
realize
because
that
it's
it's like 9 inches out of the wall. Like these are full-size plants. It's not just a tiny little baby that we harvest off. It's a full-size plant that comes off. So our lettuces, we've
yeah,
been really lucky. We've been able to get about 3 harvests off each lettuce before we pull it off and put a new one on. So that's been really good in cycling the plants. We know kind of, okay, we're at the second harvest on these ones. We better get something else ready to go.
right.
And I've been able to, as you can see, this is kind of my chaos garden. I don't, big farms are monocultures and they keep it all the same, all in one spot. Yeah.
Hold on, wait, I have a question. Just for listener, they might not know what that means. Sometimes I do a
Oh,
pause on these. Let's break down what monoculture would be for
so
listener in
yeah.
case they're
So
not familiar with agriculture.
monoculture farms is that big crop of wheat that you see that's miles and miles big by miles and miles big, and it's all the same thing. And that's why you need to spray it with Roundup and stuff, because there's nothing
Other,
else but that there. So that's what your pests are going to eat, and that's what they're going to go straight for, right? So I kind of, like I said before, I
thank
kind of
you.
subscribe to the permaculture way of growing things. I'm also not very good at keeping track of stuff either. So
Well, wait, so
I
what's
kind of,
permaculture for us, Kim? Sorry to
so
interrupt.
permaculture is the way of how nature grows. So it's working with how nature regularly grows things. You don't usually see, a wide swath of strawberries in nature. You see
I
5
see
or
them
6
kind of
strawberry plants with an apple tree and some
totally.
brambles over here and some rhubarb and the whole deal. So
Yeah,
um, I'm big on making sure that everything has its place, meaning that it's all accessing sunlight. So I kind of intercrop lots of things. That's why the Swiss chard is in the middle of everything else up there. I just find that it's a lot easier to make sure, like I said, make sure everything gets some light. Sometimes these lettuces get so big that the back gets neglected and it gets dry or starts to get a little soft because it's not getting that light. But if I can mingle it with some herbs or some basil, everything seems to have better airflow. So we do have 3 fans going in here and a dehumidifier just to keep the moisture content a little better. That's always the first question when people see that we're in our living room is, oh my God, what's the moisture like? It actually hasn't been that bad. We started growing in the middle of winter, so it was really dry. It's middle of Manitoba, it's dry.
yep.
So it was actually really nice. We didn't have to turn the humidifier on. We already had one. And the only
Right.
kind of worked. And
Yeah,
the only real problem we found was in June when we got that hot snap where it was hot and it
right.
was muggy.
It's
But we
almost have
just
to like cool off the room.
Yeah, so
Oh, yeah.
we've never had, in the 20 years we've been here, we've never had an air conditioner. We had to buy an air conditioner for the first time ever. But we just ran it for an hour and it cooled everything off and brought everything back down. And the house sits about 60, which is high,
Yep.
but it's not abnormally high. So
Right.
anybody that's going to be growing with a smaller wall, you're not going to find that it's even going to do much for your humidity at all. You have
Right.
to remember that this is not normally what you would put in your living room by any means. So anybody
Right.
with a home system that would be thinking of growing for themselves or for them in their neighborhood, you're certainly not going to be dealing with 80% humidity all the time. So it's not been bad actually at all. I'm really looking forward to actually in February when I can't get away to my nice warm vacation. I will
Just
not
coming
have
there.
the winter blues. I'll just be able to great. So
That's so cool. And that is, it's very, thanks for breaking it down, by the way. So message versus the monocrop and sorry, what's the other word that we were using here?
permaculture.
Permaculture. That's more like, I mean, if we're thinking like field scale too, more like regenerative style focused now about having multiple crops in the field and having different root systems touch
Absolutely.
and, communicate that way. I think it's definitely it seems like an advantageous way to go, even if, it is necessary to have we'll call it more like commercial farming for the volume of stuff that we do, but it seems to definitely have some
it's
upsides
also seemed to help with, like, granted we are very new, but we haven't had any bugs. We've even had like
knock
people
on wood.
it can happen for sure. Totally can happen. Being a controlled environment egg, though, it's a little bit easier to contain when you just have to pull everything off, or you introduce a predator bug and they take care of your problem, and then hopefully your predator bugs can be captured. But we've been really lucky that we haven't had any. And you were out here. We have a dog, we have a cat, we have a screen door on the front that they come in and out of, and half the time the wind has blown it open and the house is open to everything.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely opportunity for
opportunities to take over. When we do move over to the actual greenhouse, it will be way more contained than it is.
Yeah.
And hopefully that'll be within the next 6 months. We can get over there and get growing to the full potential. So
yeah, well, it's so crazy to me that like this is already at the scale that it is. Like, even I'm just gonna throw this. I mean, like showing up initially, I'm just like, what is going on here? And then I get in there, I'm like, holy mackerel, this is so cool.
Yeah,
and then you start looking at like
when you drive up, you're kind of like, what are you doing? Like, why?
Kind of.
And then you get
but
in here.
And then we start like breaking it down and talking like we are right now about like the numbers and how many ports are on the walls, how much lettuce that produces, and then really wrapping your head around what that means for food production and food security for having stuff sourced locally here. I mean, is there 4 in the family with you guys? Like this would be way substantial. Like you would never be able to consume this much lettuce on your own as a family. This is like far bigger than that, right? You guys would be eating breakfast first.
There's 3 of us that eat off the wall every day, and we don't even make a dent in it. And like that's adding green stuff goes into everything that we eat now. We were very much a meat and potatoes and craft dinner kind of family before. So I do have some health issues, which has come up. I had a liver transplant in 2012 and I have an autoimmune disease, and my girls are also predisposed to autoimmune diseases. So this has definitely made a huge dent in our diet for sure. I just can't get over the change in how much better we're feeling at this point in time than we were a year ago. And like I said, Perry, who was not a greens guy, did not add green to anything. Now comes in and grabs lettuce for his sandwiches every morning as he heads out to the big farm. We call it the big farm and the little farm.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we just finished harvest on the big farm, so now we can concentrate on getting the little farm going a little bit better. So
that's awesome. That's great. Well, that's a big part of the story. We probably even do that on another full episode to chat more about like that and that impact that it's had. But I mean, like food is medicine at the end of the day. Absolutely. I noticed it personally from where I get actually one of the other folks that I had on the podcast, Riley Kemp. I don't know if I paused. I know him and his brother Scott. But they do grass-fed meat, and I make a point to try to order more of that stuff. But I know I had made historically points of sticking to very strict diet routines. You definitely notice it in your energy and stuff. And part of it probably is consistency, but if you're consistently eating bad food, it's probably going to do the opposite and drag you down and have you feeling not so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would definitely agree. I mean, I haven't done that with the walls personally, but it definitely seems like a, easy feature for people to understand. You put good stuff in, you get good energy out of that too.
For sure. This past week, I got to be part of the What's the Big Idea over in Nipwa, which brought together 7 of us together, 7 new business pitches. We were really fortunate. We got egg presentation of the day, so that was really, really helpful. And just the networking alone, we connected with a market gardener from Plumas just down the road that also works with our friend that's a butcher. And we actually they have some spice rubs that go with their meat. So we got talking, and I think there'll be a really cool partnership come out of that once we're over in the big building. Hopefully we'll be able to be more of a small market garden store in the end, where we can supply a little bit more of your rounded out meal, not just your greens. So it's really cool when you get working with your community and how you can feed everybody everything that they need, and they find out that it's all right here. So really looking forward to the partnerships that we can work with going forward.
Awesome. I wrote that down here to follow up with you on that. Want to find out more about these spices. Yeah.
They're it was kind of neat. The wife used to be our nanny when I was sick, and her husband is the butcher, and so it's been really neat to be able to partner with people that are part of our life anyways, but to be able to work together to be the end goal for everybody is kind of awesome.
Yeah, very much so. I think this is just, yeah. We can chat forever on this. I'm excited to see the expansion. We got to have you back for the 2.0. I think this has been
absolutely. I'm so excited to be able to get out of the basement. I loved Kimbroidery. I love that, I've been able to be at home and do all the things with my kids for the last 18 years. But I'm really excited about this next stage that we're moving into. It's really exciting. The opportunities are just, every time I turn around, there's something else that we want to include or want to do or whatever. So we could talk forever. I'm
sure we could too. I think we covered the core of it though, and we went through a lot of stuff here today about like where you're going today, and just the sheer variety, how you're supplying the local community with food and fresh food at that, having an impact, and you're expanding, and you're going to have a bigger impact on that food supply and what you can do for food security locally, and then beyond that, spreading that message so others can do that too. And we'll include some of the contact information in part of the episode stuff that we put on the website and on YouTube there, and what other streaming platforms you are in the future. But ways to find you, I know it's primarily social media right now for the company, and I'm sure in the future that'll change and evolve for you guys. But right now it's Instagram and Facebook. Is that the main two?
Yeah. So we're on Facebook, just under Little Garden Next Door on Facebook and Instagram both. So that's where we post what's fresh of the day and what we need, and we think the community is going to need that day, and anything that's happening with the garden. We try and post, or I try and post fairly regular. I'm kind of the chief cook and bottle washer over here, so unless I can,
you're doing everything.
Just Facebook, Instagram, and I work from home, so drop in. We're at 129 3rd Street Southeast. Billy, the border collie, will meet you at the door, and she'll show you where all the good stuff is.
That's great. And is there anything, I guess, that we missed, or anything to mention for upcoming dates of events? I know you just had that event locally here. That was kind of like a pitch event. Is there anything else in the near future, or that you do know that you have coming up? That's okay if you don't. But
so this weekend we're headed to Calgary actually to check out New Leaf Farms. So they're a farm in Calgary that also grows with Harvest Today. They've got some really good things going on over there. They do a lot of distilled herbs and stuff. And they've also got some other growing opportunities going over there. Some fodder, they have fodder containers for farmers. So we're really interested to find out what that's all about too. Seems how we're surrounded by 5 dairies. Might be something that we can help some dairy farmers work into their diets too. And then, just going forward over the winter, we're thinking about heading to Vegas for the Indoor Ag Show in February. We had just got into the business a week before that came up last year. So we thought about going. This year it'll definitely make a little bit more sense. We'll kind of know what we're talking about and know what we need to look for. So that'll be neat to go and see what everything else is, what's happening in the growing world. So
that is awesome. That sounds great. So there'll be a couple places people will probably see you, and I'm sure I would encourage people to follow you on social media because I'm sure that there's going to be other things that you're updating on the journey and things that will
Yeah.
come up with you guys. I can just see the trajectory,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
for you guys. So
Yeah. So yeah, last week I ended up connecting with the Women's Enterprise in Winnipeg. They were out too, and they invited me to go be their guest for the breakfast in November. So headed in there to do
fantastic,
some more networking and chatting,
awesome,
and I'm I have no doubt that something will come out of that one too. So I'm very grateful and very lucky that everybody sees the potential in this that we do too. So it's
totally,
it's
yeah,
exciting.
very awesome. Well, Kim, this has been awesome.
Thank you for having
This
us.
has been so great. Yeah, no, I'm excited to get this episode out and have the clips from this one already. I'm saying that preemptively without this even ended yet on the podcast episode itself, but this has been awesome. And I'm excited to come out and see it again and see where the 2.0
Absolutely.
takes you guys. So this has been great. It's been lovely meeting you in Perry and being able to be there on site and then jump on the podcast here. So thank you so much for making
Absolutely.
time in your busy schedule to be here. And
Thank you.
I look forward to following up. We'll chat soon on
Yeah.
that note. And yeah, have a great rest of your day.
You too. We'll see you later.